Morning. Excuse the informal setup here. I lost my mic stand. This is what Gen Z's doing, right? Holding the microphone as close to their mouth as they can get. I want to talk to you about shadow work. Okay, this is a very important subject. If you don't know what that is, you're in the right spots. And if you know what it is, we're going to take a different angle on it today. Many of you watch this channel because you're into self-improvement. I've been in this space for over a decade on myself and professionally. I've seen a lot of habits and patterns. Two main problems, so to speak. One of the problems with self-improvement is that as soon as you learn what you should be doing, I should be getting up early, I should be taking cold showers, I should be pounding a green smoothie all before 5 a.m. It sort of gives you this mental checklist that if you don't do everything on that list, now that's ammunition that can work against you and you can self-attack on. So what's supposed to be a positive almost can work against you at a point. But the second way, and this one's more prevalent, the longer you're in this space, there comes an upper limit to how much you can improve. When you first get in this space, maybe you're like me, I was in a super low spot. I was 30 grand in debt. I was living in my mom's basement. Things sucked. And so we turned to videos and books and podcasts to try and pull ourselves out. And here's the thing, it does work. I've seen it in our Metamorphic program. People who are starting at zero, reinventing themselves, go to 50, 60, 70% of their potential, 80% of their potential really, really fast. So you're like, what's the problem? Many people make the mistake that when they get to 80%, 90% on their journey of self-improvement, that they're done. You are missing the other half of the picture. You might be like, what's the difference? The self-improvement side is half the journey. But the other side, this is self-healing, self-acceptance. If you never focus on this, something's always going to be off. Self-improvement is finding energy through getting somewhere. Self-acceptance is finding peace where you are, enjoying the now, being in the moment, loving yourself, not for what you do, but just simply who you are. There's an upper limit to the amount of self-improvement, but there's no upper limit to the amount of self-acceptance. There's a massive benefit for focusing on both. So now you're probably thinking, well, what are the techniques? What are the shadow work techniques? And I'll give you some in a minute, but I want to briefly touch on something very important that if you don't understand these techniques, you're going to use them once and they're going to fade away. So I want to give you some introspection on why this self-acceptance is hard. It comes down to three things. And this comes from psychology. Sigmund Freud was famous for talking about this. There's also an author, David Hawkins, in his book, Letting Go. When anything is uncomfortable and there is tension, you will suppress it, escape it, or project it. Suppression is one of the most common ones. This is consciously done, where you have something negative about yourself, a negative thought, a negative belief, a negative pattern, and instead of going into it and letting go of it, or working through it, or talking it through, we push it down and we say, nope, not today, buddy, not gonna look at that. An image to illustrate this that works very well is if you think of a trash can and you throw a piece of trash in there. Well, if you keep doing that over and over again, it's gonna get full. And so if you're like most of us, instead of taking out the trash, you'll put a paper towel on it and you'll push it down, because then you have more room to throw more trash on and you never have to take it out. But you do have to take it out. Otherwise, it's gonna stink up your whole house. There comes a point where that thing is full. No matter how much you push it down, it's heavy, the bag's gonna rip, it's gonna be a mess. That is what we do to the uncomfortable emotions, views of ourselves, beliefs, self-doubts, is anytime we're suppressing it, we're just pushing it down in that trash can. There comes a time though, where it's stinking up your own internal state. You have to take it out. This is what is called letting go. This is journaling. This is therapy. This is modalities like shadow work. It's metaphorically not running and suppressing your discomfort in yourself or a situation or a belief or a pattern. It's taking out the trash and dropping it in the can and letting it go. I think this is specifically hard for men. We tend to suppress a lot more. Talk to the typical guy, they'll tell you, I haven't cried in 10 years. The gym is my therapy. I don't need to journal. I don't need to talk. Now, I'm not saying you turn down and shut off your masculine drive, but it's hard to have a strong masculine drive if you're in fear. And suppression is based in fear. It's a fear that if you look at it, it's going to break you. So ironically, running from it and not looking at it, turning a blind eye, that's not a masculine act because that's based in fear. Escape. This is probably the most common because it's easiest to do. Video games, food, drinking. I'm not saying you can never watch TV, play video games, or do anything you want to do as a functioning adult. It's only a problem if you're running. And as someone who is recently sober of 400 plus days, I can tell you that when you stop using escapes, you start getting real with yourself, and it's going to take you on a self-growth journey that you got to be prepared for. A good question to ask yourself now is, what are your escapes? And just notice yourself when you're escaping. Why are you escaping? What's the emotion that you're running from? What's the thought or the discomfort that boiled down you're trying to escape from? And lastly, projection. After all, it's easier to put the spotlight on other people than yourself. And a lot of people do this subconsciously. Maybe they're in a fight with their girlfriends and then they lash out because they had a stressful day at work. Gossip magazines. What are other people doing? What's the drama? Reality TV is another form of projection that most people don't realize. And once you know these, you can start linking them up where we are as a society. I think that projection is one of the reasons cancel culture really took off, because a lot of the people who were leading the charge on canceling other people, it comes out later that they were doing the same thing, or they had something similar in their past that they were trying to cancel the person for. The angry mob is like, yes, someone is getting exposed, so let's put the spotlight on them, because if it's on them, it's not on me, man. And if it's not on me, then maybe they won't find out all the times in my past I did something similar, or I wasn't my best. My point is, look at those three and take inventory of which one you use more frequently. Now you have the awareness of what you're doing. Oh, I'm escaping because I feel bored. Oh, I'm projecting because that's something I need to deal with. Oh, I'm suppressing it and I need to go in and let go of some of these stories that are no longer serving me. If all you did is that right there, and every time one of those three comes up and you dive into it instead of running from it, that's how you're going to develop some more self-acceptance. That's how you're going to develop some self-healing, which is the other side, not just the self-improvement. Here are my 4 favorite techniques that I've used that have helped me immensely. There's a great quote that says, if you keep hearing the same thing about yourself, it might be true. Asking yourself the question, what's a piece of feedback, criticism, that I've received multiple times from multiple people. In marketing, for every one piece of negative feedback they get on a product, they multiply it by a certain multiple. Could be 100, could be 1,000, depends on the size of a company. Because for every one person that has said that, chances are 100 people, 1,000 people have thought that. And they know that 99% of the time, people won't speak up and they'll just ignore it, even if they think it. I think this is very true for us. For every one person that's given you some tough feedback, there's probably been 100 people that have thought that, but have just been too nice to tell us. So what's a piece of feedback that you've heard multiple times that might have been hard to hear, and how can you use it in your life? Second thing, this is keeping a journal, something I've talked about and made videos on this channel on. Hands down, one of my favorite forms of shadow work, introspection. So many different techniques you can do, but one of my favorite questions to ask myself in here is, what am I avoiding? What are you suppressing, repressing, escaping from, or projecting? Another one you might consider is, what advice would I give someone else in my exact same situation? Because 99% of the time you feel stuck. When you feel stuck, you know what the answer is. You might just have too much resistance to doing it. Those 2 questions will unlock Pandora's box of where you need to start putting your self-healing energy and get results. The third is developing a mindfulness meditation practice. I feel like it gives you a 10% boost in your patience, your compassion, your love. And research will actually confirm that if you look at some studies where they did 12 minutes a day for 8 weeks, the parts of their brain, like the amygdala, your fear center, your fight or flight center, decreases by up to 25%. That's amazing. If you just had 25% less fear and anxiety throughout your day, I'm sure that would make a difference. More of a daily practice, but that one for sure has made a huge impact and is a form of shadow work. And the last one is done with someone, whether it's finding a therapist, whether it's working with an energy healer, or whatever route you want to take with it. It unlocks a lot for you working with someone there to work you through it. The kind that I have found the most benefit from has been a type of shadow work I call inner shadow shifting. And it's one that we actually pioneered, pulling on the foundations of NLP Neuro-linguistic programming, which is a series of questions. Because if you ask yourself better questions or the right questions, getting guided through this, you get better answers. And realizing that every negative action you have at the core of it has a positive intent. Even if it's lashing out at someone because you feel unloved, well, that's still you trying to get love, which is a positive act. Even if it's yourself in fear, well, that fear is trying to prevent you from dying, literally. So what inner shadow shifting does is it unlocks the positive intent behind seemingly negative actions or stories that are deep rooted in your subconscious. And this is something we do with our coaching clients in week 3 of our Metamorphic program. You actually get to work with one of our inner shadow shifting coaches. Amazing. I've worked with them, got great results. It's the same ones. And so if you're interested in any of that or our Metamorphic coaching program, interested in the self-healing aspect and the self-improvement, we do both. First 3 weeks, self-improvement. Last 3 weeks, self-healing. I'll link down below where you can apply to speak to one of our coaches for free. Remember that there is a cap to the self-improvement, but there is no cap to the self-healing. And instead of trying to get confidence through tactics or habits or books or ideas and forcing your way there, sometimes it's better to let go and allow it to come in to your life. What I'll do now is link up right here our next video on shadow work. This is a perfect follow-up for you. Thanks so much for watching. See you there. Till then, stop settling, start living. See ya.